Welcome, nerds, once again to That Just Happened. This week's episode, this is the show, the lazy show for people who want reviews. I review it when I get to it because I'm a one-man show, dang it. But yeah, so this week's episode is Will Smith Engage Shall Burn the Hives Between the Empty Man. It's a long one. So yeah, real quick, what this show is, reviews. Usually we get to the music pretty quick, but it's I get to it when I get to it, man. So it's really just a conversation. I'm presenting to you my opinion on some piece of art or pieces of art, as usually each episode is multiple songs and TV shows and movies and etc. etc. So, and I'm just trying to elicit a response because this is a conversation. Why do we appreciate the things we appreciate? That's really what we're trying to get at the heart of here. And the best way to do that is to talk about how we, once we experience it, then we can review it. So that's where we're at. Let's start with music like we usually do. Killswitch Engage has released a new track from their current record. The name of the track is Aftermath. The music is great. Like, I really dig Killswitch Engage. They're one of my top 5 bands, easy, no questions. The video, generally speaking, is also a really good message, taking care of the earth, because, that's what we're put here to do, is, to be stewards of the earth and the things that inhabit it therein. So, also a good message there. It was a little cringy because they also quoted themselves. Like they were showing all of this footage of like horrible things that are happening around the world, and then they show footage of people trying to fix the horrible things. So it's really cool. And then there's like these quotes from people and like these organizations that are doing all these great things, and then you get a quote from Killswitch Engage. it's a lyric from the song. It's like, cringe maybe isn't the right word. It just was off. Like, I don't know. It just was weird. Is probably the best way to put it. But damn, the song is good. Jesse, like I said a number of times since we talked about this album, Jesse's just more pissed off on this release than he has been since he joined the band again. Like, it's just so raw. This record is so damn good, and every new release that comes from it just continues that trend. I dig it. It was a little weird, like, quoting yourself alongside these other people who are doing these great things. Not that Killswitch isn't doing great things, just different. Next up, we're gonna spend some time on this one. Next up is Will Smith, the Fresh Prince, if you will. But Will Smith has released a new track called Pretty Girls. He also, and this one actually came out about 2 months ago, he also released a new record called Based on a True Story. We're gonna talk about those two things separately. Even though technically Pretty Girls comes from Based on a True Story, there are different animals to be addressed differently. So we're gonna get to the specifics of the single song, Pretty Girls. I would have known this sooner had I listened to the record sooner, but he's no longer the Fresh Prince, so that apparently means that he's starting to cuss in his music now. Not that I'm offended at the idea of foul language in my music, no, but like, that was his whole shtick. That was the whole reason he made the music he made, is because he was trying to be a better example of an artist for younger people, for, for the crossover crowd. Like, there was a number of reasons. The biggest reason why he wasn't using foul, quote unquote, foul language in his music was because he made a promise to his grandma, who I maybe was dying at the time. That might be apocryphal. I might be misremembering that, but something along those lines. She died since, I'm sure. He's also 60 years old, so we're gonna get into that when we get into the record. But it seemed so casual, and then just totally broke the image of who Will Smith is as a musical artist. All at once in my head. So I don't know, the track is super mediocre, and that's being generous, I think. Just not the best stuff. It feels like grasping at relevancy. It feels like, well, I'm not getting as many job offers for movies these days because I did a stupid and got myself kind of blackballed in the industry, because we all know why. So, but now he has to make music that sounds just as generic and trash as the rest of the unknown hip-hop world. And I say unknown because, like, to people who don't always listen to that kind of music, like, this just kind of falls in line with the rest of it. It doesn't stand out like it used to for him. So it's just, oh, it just leaves a really sour taste in my mouth. And so, elaborating into the larger picture that is the record, the based on the true story record, this whole record, by and large, feels like Will Smith grasping at relevancy. There's the one song that's very short. It's more of a skit, but it's still put to, I mean, it still rhymes, and it's still, there's a beat behind it and everything. He's just doing characters and voices and things where they're talking about, it's like barbershop. The video is literally a barbershop where Will is playing all of the roles of the people talking in the barbershop. And that track is the most foul language that he has ever put to tape up until that point, outside of his movie career, obviously. Again, I'm not offended at the idea of foul language in my music. It's just, that's not Will Smith. That is not who that person is. That is not who that artist is. And so for him to just all of the sudden do this is so off-putting. And there's a couple, I did write down a couple of standout tracks. Excuse me. A couple of standout tracks. Hard Times is a standout track. I think that was the only one I wrote down, honestly. There was another one, though. I just can't remember what it was. But listening to this and just kind of going through, like, all of the back catalog for Will Smith, all of the Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince stuff, and then his few solo records that he did before he went full-time into movies, like, that stuff was so uplifting and so fun and was danceable, which is kind of what he was trying to do with the Pretty Girls track, but it didn't really work. But, like, and then he after the hiatus from the music scene, he did that freestyle a few years ago with Jazz in his little studio that looked like he has on his property somewhere. And that was amazing as well. Also clean. And, like, some of the best, like, that was one of the best doing what he's good at, and still, like, standing out from the pack, but in his way that he had before. And this is just, I'm throwing in the towel. I'm just going to sound like everybody else. Like, it's just not good. Anyway, I'm spending way too much time on this. Let's move on. Another track released this week from a new record coming out from Heaven Shall Burn. New record will be released June 26th. So we've got about a week before they release the record on this one. It is a cover. It's a Killswitch Engage cover. It is Numbered Days, the first song most of us heard from Killswitch Engage. It's the first track on Alive or Just Breathing, and it is, I've put it on lists before here on the channel even, where I called it, like, the perfect metalcore song. Like, this is metalcore distilled down into its most purest form. This track, the original version of this track. The Howard Jones vocal version of this track is also fantastic. You should check it out if you haven't. But the Heaven Shall Burn version of it, I don't know Heaven Shall Burn's technical subgenre. I know they're not metalcore. They could be deathcore. I don't know. I really don't know. Don't really care either. I know they're a little bit heavier than Killswitch. I know they're quite a bit, like, grimier as far as, like, the general feeling of listening to their music. So, like, it doesn't surprise me that this is kind of a sidestep more than, like, them adding their flavor to it, but also they do add some of their own flavor to it. Should be noted here too, Jesse Leach does do guest vocals on this track with them. So some of these vocals sound right, but most of these vocals just don't. And I'm generally okay with a cover. I mean, the Frog Leap Studios channel is on heavy rotation when Leo's actively putting out music, so I really dig good covers. I just don't think this is a very good cover. This is a very subpar cover. The mix even for this is really subpar, which is why, like, maybe they consider themselves black metal? I don't know, because the way that this track is mixed is kind of black metal-esque. It's a whole lot of verb, a whole lot of, like, muddy audio, so you can't really distinguish certain things from other things, and, like, just, ooh, I don't know why Jesse lent his vocals to this. Maybe they went on tour with Heaven Shall Burn and they're good dudes. Generally, I kind of dig Heaven Shall Burn. So the fact that this track is so subpar just really, really kind of grates on me a bit. So yeah, definitely not a recommend for this one. Let's move over to the Hives. This one was kind of a listen by accident. I like the Hives. I think that I haven't really liked their new stuff since they started putting out new music again. This is, I believe, their second record since they came back from hiatus. Name of this track that we're talking about is Paint a Picture. Is just kind of more bland, like We Were the Hives once kind of vibe. The video is freaking awesome. I dug the video. The art direction on the video is great. It looks like a comic book. I forget exactly the style, but it looks freaking awesome and is a whole lot of fun to watch. The track just isn't as much fun to listen to. So like, if you're really into the Hives, you'll dig this. If you only like the one track from the Hives from the early 2000s, this is really not going to do anything for you. And then Between the Buried and Me have put out a new track from their forthcoming record as well. The name of the track is Things We Tell Ourselves in the Dark. The new record is out. I have to check my music notes. New record is out September 12th. It's called The Blue Nowhere. It's apparently based on this hotel they made up to tell a story in the record. This track is 7 minutes long and is not quite as heavy, at least not as consistently heavy as generally some might expect from Between the Buried and Me. They are prog metal, so like anything's fair game. So it shouldn't surprise you when they put out a track like this. This is not the first time they've put out a track that is quote unquote soft. There are heavy passages through here, but it's a 7-minute song and they run the gamut of sound that they have ever put out. There's a lot more of the jazzy kind of feel stuff here. There's a lot more of that 70s kind of throwback feel that they kind of dip into from time to time. It's good. It's good. It is genuinely sonically interesting the whole way through. By the time you get to the end, I didn't realize I had been sitting there for 7 minutes listening to this track. I thought it was like 3.5, maybe 4.5 minutes long. That extra 3 minutes just kind of came out of nowhere and I didn't realize it was there. So yeah, for sure. Between the Buried and Me, quality stuff. Go check out Things We Tell Ourselves in the Dark. And then our final piece of music we're going to be talking about for this review show is Reeba Myers. Reeba Myers, for those that don't know, is the guitar player for the band Code Orange, who is currently on hiatus. She also, I think, is still currently playing in the live band for Marilyn Manson, though they're not on tour right now, so she's taking this solo project that she's just started on tour, a very short tour, but still tour nonetheless. And she's putting out a record called Clouded World. The single that she just released is also called Clouded World. So, you know, title song. This is the third single from this record. The first single we didn't talk about the second one, now we're talking about the third. The first single was much more of what I was expecting from a Reeba solo project. Haven't listened to the second one yet. I honestly it didn't hit my radar when it came out, so I'm gonna have to go find it because I do dig Reeba. I think she's one of the reasons why Code Orange works so damn well is because she adds a layer of variety. She is dynamic in and of herself, just because her taste seems to be rather different than the rest of the dudes in Code Orange, because they're all a bunch of hardcore bros and she's not. So, and that's very evident by this solo record, at least the bits that we've heard from it so far. This track, though, I do not really appreciate as much as I feel like I should, being a bit of a fan of Reeba. This feels like, all right, so as I was watching the video very much is reminiscent of like a 90s angsty girl power kind of Alanis Morissette kind of video, right? So think of, and now I'm gonna blank this specific Alanis song I was trying to think of, whatever. But that's the kind of feel, you know what I'm talking about when I say it that way. The track has elements of that as well, but also feels like she's trying to keep it in the realm of metal. You can't really necessarily call what she's doing on this hardcore so much. Kind of punky, more like a metal inflected 90s alternative sound. I don't know, it feels aimless. It feels a little lost, and that doesn't really make it a great listen. Again, I'm a fan of Reeba, just not really a fan of this track. So there is that. And then we're gonna kill the music portion. We're gonna move over to the other things. And we're going to talk about The Empty Man is the movie from this week. I feel like there were other things that were on the docket from last week. I just didn't get to them, so my apologies. But Empty Man, it is a horror movie from 2020. It is, I think it's not streaming anywhere, so I had to go find it through other means. But solid horror movie. I'll almost put it as the recommendation for this week's news episode. So through and through, it's very ominous. I think the big thing here is like the very ominous feeling of like there is some sort of, and to even call it supernatural, yeah, I guess it's supernatural. It borderlines on cosmic horror, even though that might be a little bit of a stretch for the things that actually go on here. But that kind of paints a picture for you, right? Like there's definitely something supernatural going on, borderlining on cosmic. And that should be a little bit for the people who are just into that kind of stuff. If you're into that kind of stuff, this is going to scratch that itch for sure. If you're not necessarily into that kind of stuff, there is a much larger, more thriller element here. It's more of like a detective story than anything, with just that ominous thing kind of sitting in the background. Kind of literally in some of the scenes. So yeah, there are moments of this. I'm not going to say the whole movie is very well done, but there are moments of this movie that are really well done and really well executed, and just kind of make you as the audience kind of question, wait a minute, didn't we just, how the hell did, like, you have to really be following this movie in order to catch all of the bits. I think if you're kind of passively watching it, you're not going to get the horror elements as well, but also you'll still kind of get the gist of what happens. But to fully appreciate this, to connect all the dots and everything, you really have to be paying attention. And the ending, I think, is simultaneously the thing that I appreciate the most about this movie, but also the thing that I think kind of comes up a little bit short for me about this movie. The ending, like most modern horror, could have been better. However, it kind of gives you what you are wanting the change, as far as how I watch modern horror anyway, almost gives you what you want the ending to be. It's just you kind of have to make a couple of concessions to it. So generally speaking, I don't know, a good like cosmic horror, because it plays, by the time you hit the end of the movie, it really is playing into that cosmic element, the supernatural element. By the end of a cosmic horror, like you watch Color Out of Space, you watch really any Lovecraftian adaptation, the end of those movies is so bleak and depressing and just like oppressive even, like that I think is what I'm expecting out of a cosmic horror movie. And it's almost that, but it's also almost that the good guy wins and it's like a happy ending. I don't know, it's in order to get into more detail than that, I think we would have to go really deep into spoilers and it'd be a much longer episode of the review. So like the ending feels halfway cathartic, I think is probably the best way to put that. Like it is not an easy ending, but it's also not as oppressive an ending as you would expect from a cosmic horror. I think that's a good way to describe the give and take of the way this movie ends. But again, by and large, really solid. Not a whole lot of like big face actors in here. You get a couple. They're more in bit parts. The leads are not people that you recognize easily. Honestly, didn't even write their names down because it's not super relevant to the way I review, but like good stuff. good stuff. If you're looking for something to watch and you have a way to get your hands on The Empty Man, this is not The Bye Bye Man, which was released approximately the same time, and probably why The Empty Man didn't get as much press coverage, because people associate the two movies. Bye Bye Man, not a good horror movie. Empty Man, pretty good horror movie. So go check out The Empty Man. That's the way to go. That is the only review that's not music that we're doing this week. So as far as what is to come this week, I think before we talk next, the first few episodes of The Bear will be up. So there's that. I have some Andor to watch. I think I'm going to put that on the docket. And then I still have to get through Isekai, and I still have to get through Goosebumps. And I think that's it. Honestly, more likely we're going to start Andor, and we're going to talk about Andor next week than any of the Isekai, or maybe Goosebumps. Goosebumps might be doable. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So what happened this week for you? What art have you interacted with? New music, new movies, new TV show? What's going on for you? Let's have that conversation in the comment section. Or, you know, maybe we'll just have it in the next episode. Who knows? So I appreciate your faces, nerds. I think that's where we're killing this. So thank you very much for joining me. Let's review some more stuff next week, shall we? Before we go, don't forget to like, subscribe, share the show with everyone you know, because that is the way that anything grows on YouTube. Anything. Word of mouth is the best way, especially on a smaller channel like this. So if you can do that, if you can just be like, hey, buddy of mine that I work with, that we're friends, I've been watching this YouTube channel and he does the news and reviews and the things. Yeah, that's great. I love it. Thank you very much. So that's where we're killing it, though. Thank you very much, nerds. Before we go, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here, and that just happened.